Good evening. I'm Phil Herron, editor of the Daily Times and DelcoTimes.com. Welcome back to another edition of our live stream internet broadcast. We call this little show Live from the Newsroom. It's where we take some of the people and the issues and headlines that are making news here in Delaware County. We bring them into our offices in beautiful downtown Primos, and we talk about the issues of the day. We are once again out on the road at our home away from home. We are on the campus of Widener University in gorgeous Freedom Hall, where the TV studio of the Communications Department of Widener is located. Our thanks, as always, to the PR maven here at Widener, Dan Hansen, who's invited us back again this semester to stop by once a month, and we are once again being able to utilize the great students of Professor Tim Sapansky. They actually get an opportunity to do some of the behind-the-scenes work. They run the cameras and the sound, and they try desperately to make this face look good and fail miserably at that chore, as I might add. Tonight we're going to talk about a very special program and some very special students here on the campus of Widener, and it's a little different look at some of the students. We have had an awful lot of news in the last week or so coming from college campuses across the state and across the nation, and to be frank, that has not always painted students and young people in a necessarily good light. We're going to take a little different look at a program here that is very, very successful at Widener and a model for much of the region who sends their students here for this specific program. And we're going to talk about what it is that attracts kids here and what it is about this program that is so successful. Tonight we are going to talk about students who are involved in ROTC, that is Reserve Officer Training Corps, and that is the reason we have come here, and we've assembled a great panel of people, including several students, to talk about what they do and why they were attracted to ROTC, specifically the program here at Widener. Joining us tonight to my left is Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Ignatovic. He is the battalion commander of the Dauntless Battalion Widener ROTC program, and we're going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about the significance of that idea of the Dauntless Battalion here at Widener. We move out farther out to my left as we move out along the panel. We have Keith Carbell, who heads up the recruiting and enrollment here at the Widener Dauntless Battalion ROTC program. And then our very, very special guests, three students who are actually involved in the ROTC program. All the way out on the far left is Lloyd Flores. He's a junior poli-science student. And then as we move in next to him, we have Haley Fotis, who is a senior nursing student. One of the things that we're going to talk about is the incredible success of the nursing program here at with Widener's ROTC. And then next to her, as we work our way in, is Alex McCarthy, a junior environmental science student. A reminder, we are an interactive show. You can log on to DelcoTimes.com, take part in a live chat. If you have questions or things you'd like to see answered, I've had an opportunity to solicit some questions from our readers about the program. We'll get to those in a bit. And the one good thing about it, if you don't happen to get a chance to see the program live, it is always archived on DelcoTimes.com, so you can go back and watch it when you get the opportunity. Colonel, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you. What is it specifically today that is so wildly attractive about the ROTC program in general, and specifically the program that you're operating here at Widener?
I think it boils down to leadership is the number one thing. So if a student is interested in learning about leadership and being a part of a group of students who mentor, teach, coach, lead, and especially straight coming in as a freshman, is the association with ROTC. What's wonderful and so rewarding for us as cadre and faculty is to watch a young man or woman come in as a freshman, and then by the time they transition to their sophomore, junior, and especially their senior years, that transition from being taught and led to teaching and leading others. And I get goosebumps thinking about that. It's tremendously rewarding, and it's why I love doing the job I do, and our cadre love doing what they do.
Tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you to Widener? Where you're from originally?
So I'm an Army brat. So my dad was in the Army, and I've lived all over the United States and throughout the world. So the adjustment to the Army wasn't too tough for me. It's always sad to say goodbye as you meet some friends and make those friends, especially when you're really young. But you come used to it, and I love Facebook now, and I think it's a great thing for the young generation because they can stay connected so much easier for us. So I had just come from a tour in Sinai, Egypt, which was the multi-force organization, peacekeeping, Carter administration, 1981. Our President Carter put it together, and we're still doing that mission and out in the Sinai Desert. So it was a big leap coming from that environment back to cadets. It's my second time doing the professor of military science.
How long have you been here at Widener?
So this is my second year being at Widener. It's wonderful. It's great to be back near where I commissioned. I commissioned out of Valley Forge Military College and completed my undergraduate at the Richard Stockton College in New Jersey.
Great.
So it's been 20 years later, back to good cheesesteaks and pizza and good people.
Keith, let me turn to you now. Is there a specific factor that you think that sort of designates a kid that you think would be interested in ROTC?
There is. Well, there are two ways to look at it. One are the folks that are attracted to the program, certainly, and the bottom line is the first 2 years of Army ROTC are really open to any full-time Widener student. But the folks that are successful, and we can look to my left here to see who some of those guys are, it's really the folks that come with a background. Typically, they were good scholars in high school, typically athletes, and certainly have already showed some leadership potential. So those are the kind of folks that we're looking for, and they usually step right into the leadership roles in the Army ROTC and are successful lieutenants later.
How many students involved in a program now?
We've got 101 right now.
And one of the fascinating aspects to me is that the fact that the battalion here at Widener actually is a magnet school, I guess you could call it, that they actually draw kids from other schools.
That's right. Widener is the host, and we've been a host since the Pennsylvania Military College became Widener College back in, I want to say, 73. And since then, it's been recognized by the Army as one of the stronger programs. So Widener's held the flag for the battalion headquarters, and we have students from some of the local areas that come and train with us, generally Westchester, Villanova, and a few others.
The Widener program draws students from, as Keith indicated, Villanova, Penn State Abington, Westchester University, Cheney, Penn State Brandywine just up the road from here, as well as Newman and Immaculata, all from the region. Now we're going to get a chance to talk to some of the people who, I guess you could call them boots on the ground, people who are actually involved in this program. But first I want to ask, we'll start out there with you, Lloyd. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and what drew you to ROTC.
Well, I'm from Columbus, New Jersey. That's in South Jersey, right next to Fort Dix. And really in high school, especially around my senior year, I really started to think about my future and where I wanted to take my career and what best fit me. And I finally kind of, really found ROTC as a major factor in my life. But at that time, I was also looking at track and field and wanting to see where I wanted to go with that in my future, and I found that the best combination is to do both. So I found that Widener University had an amazing ROTC program beforehand, as well as a track program, and I wanted to make sure that that leadership that I felt that I had could really grow out, here, and so I chose to go here.
Haley, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half west of here.
Dutch country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amishville.
Yeah. It's funny because we did another show, I think it was on one of the nursing programs, and it was a girl from Lancaster. Lancaster have a real draw down here. What high school did you go to?
I went to Manheim Township High School.
Okay.
Right in the center of Lancaster County.
All right. Alex, Jr., where are you from?
I'm from Lafayette Hill, so I'm about half hour from here.
Yeah.
I've had other siblings and family members in the military, so I originally started out at Penn State Abington before transferring over to Widener, and the military has always been an option for me. So fully realizing ROTC wasn't necessarily an academy really fit everything that I was looking for.
Now, I ask all three of you again as well. Did you have an interest and were active in high school as well?
Yeah, I was my junior class vice president. I was an active member on multiple sports teams. So I was always drawn to being in charge of people and really participating. and activities.
Haley, you knew in high school?
No, actually, I did not. Originally, my freshman and sophomore year of high school, I really didn't really consider the military at all until I had a family member pass away who was in the military. I say it was almost an aha moment.
Yeah.
A couple of days later, actually, my mother told me about one of her family friends who actually was in the ROTC program here at Widener. And I had a travel bug back in high school. I wanted to travel the world, and I knew I wanted to be a nurse as well.
Yeah.
And so they told me of their, amazing experiences through Army ROTC, and being stationed in Hawaii, going to Germany,
Right.
being a nurse, and seeing the world. So that's when I originally sparked an interest.
That's great. Alex, how about you?
I'd say that I kind of really decided it my senior year of high school. Before then, I'd always, been very interested in the military, and I thought that it would always be, a prospect that was out there, but I didn't really solidify until my senior year, I'd probably say.
Colonel, we talked a little bit about the idea that there are, in fact, different classifications for the cadets when they come in, and those first 2 years, basically any student on campus can take some of the military science courses. Then I guess the students really have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to take this up for real. And of course, there's a commitment on the end of that as well. So why don't you explain that?
Yes, the great thing is, you did highlight it, the first 2 years, you can do it with no obligation to the Army. The
Right.
great thing about that is, as a student, is just learning about leadership. We teach 19 different dimensions. As seniors and juniors, they're mentoring the junior cadets through that process, extends influence, interpersonal skills, develops others, gets results. So even if they don't necessarily earn a contract, and it's really earning that contract or earning a scholarship to stay with ROTC, there's a great return on investment with the individual. And they could potentially earn a leadership certificate from us. What
would you say the numbers rate in terms of kids who come in and take those first 2 years? How many of them actually do commit usually?
Ooh. I would say there's probably we probably keep about 25% maybe of the freshman class that are able to earn that contract and move into the junior year.
Now what's the difference after you move through those first 2 years? Then there's the idea of what is referred to as an enrolled cadet and a contracted cadet. And I got a feeling that I have a pretty good idea what that contracted cadet means. That means that after you get that piece of paper, Uncle Sam's going to say, remember that paper that you signed before that you now owe us in return? Why don't you just explain that real quickly?
Right, so once a cadet contracts, they are basically enlisting into the Army. And it's a contract with the United States government. They will do the oath, raise their right hand, and repeat after me. And essentially they will become an Army officer. They're on that path. They're locked in. They can become a Guard officer. They can, and that's the National Guard. Pennsylvania National Guard in New Jersey. We have a phenomenal reputation across the nation of those. And then they can also go into the Army Reserves. They can elect to do that. They can try to compete for active duty. It is competitive. And we've had some phenomenal cadets who could have gotten active duty but elected to go National Guard or Reserve because it was something that fit their career paths, or to move on to their graduate degree, or even become a doctor, lawyer, or whatever their personal endeavors are.
How long is the commitment, the military commitment?
I'll speak to that. Pretty much any time anyone enlists in any of the services, it's for a period of 8 years, but how that 8 years is satisfied could be in a couple different ways. For the majority of our cadets, so those that go active duty, if they were scholarship cadets while here at Widener, they would serve 4 years active duty, after which the remainder of that 8 years could be served in an inactive capacity, basically a name in a database in case they had to be called back. But generally 4 years. Non-scholarship, it's 1 year less, it's just 3. Those that go into the reserve component, the Army Reserve or the National Guard, would serve 6 to 8 years, depending on whether they were scholarship or not.
Well, Keith, you mentioned another very, very important angle. Obviously, college today is not an inexpensive experiment, and the truth of the matter is that ROTC certainly does have a tremendous lure in that there's a great financial incentive. What is the scholarship program?
Yeah, absolutely. The scholarship, it pays full tuition and fees. So a student coming to Widener would have that fees taken care of by the Army, obviously in return for their service later.
Can you do that coming in as a freshman if you commit to it?
There are two scholarship programs. The first is our national program. It's geared towards high school students. So high school juniors, or really after the junior year up until January of the senior year, they may apply nationally, and if awarded a 4-year scholarship, they can come in with that 4-year scholarship. For folks that don't earn one coming out of high school, we have a campus-based program. So once students join the program, and I think 2 of you earned a scholarship that way. Haley was a national winner. You know, they apply, they compete with other cadets on campus, and if they can earn that, then again it would pick up full tuition and fees from that semester onward. And they also get book money and a monthly stipend while they're in the program. And then Widener provides room and board to our scholarship cadets, which is a great incentive that not all universities provide.
I would ask once again our 3 cadets, I imagine that was pretty good news to your parents when you laid out some of the financial considerations. One of the things that I've wondered about is did any of you in high school consider any of the service academies? Was that a consideration?
I had. I wasn't positive that it was really for me. I wanted a good balance of military life and a civilian life, so that's why I was looking at ROTC, and it really did fit that need. It was a good balance and learning to adjust accordingly.
Haley, I'm going to put you on the spot now. You're going to talk to someone now who is really very, very old, who went to college in the 70s. And in all honesty, there was a reputation that ROTC had in the 70s, which I imagine is not the same now. Talk a little bit about what the atmosphere is like on campus and how other kids react